man, oh man, this new TV series, Westworld, has got me all locked up. So, a little backstory. I skipped out on the whole Game of Thrones TV series, even though everyone I know is pretty much watching it, because it just seemed like such a time suck. Like 7 seasons, however many seasons it is, it's just like I do not have the time to watch that and be productive and really make a difference and do something great with my life when I have to watch all these episodes. Having said that, recently I got sucked into Westworld. I just heard a lot about it, and the opportunity arose for me to watch a ton of these episodes all at once because people nearby were having this binge marathon party. So I ended up watching it, and it is incredible. Obviously, I don't think it's perfect, but the whole plot, the whole idea, the actors really, I think it really just plays together really well. It's kind of hard to tell why I like it so much, but I think it's one of those things where you know that it's multiple things all working well together. It's kind of like a tapestry. It's not just one thing like the acting, but it's also whoever composed the music. It's also whoever wrote the story and created the plot, and it's also the actors, of course, Anthony Hopkins, all these people just delivering really well. And I even got so invested in this that I literally did what all the fanatics do, which is I literally researched everything about this thing after I watched it. That literally means like figuring out who composed the score and what this was based on. Apparently it's based on an old story and so forth. But let's go beyond just talking about this and really dissecting what makes this so interesting. I think the whole idea behind AI becoming as intelligent, if not more intelligent than humans, is a common science fiction theme, but they take a different unique spin on this by, of course, incorporating the Western old world, but also rather than making them like the Terminator series where they're frighteningly scary, it's more so like they're being literally tortured in a way. And it's almost like a Truman or Matrix effect where they're finding out about this world, and it's a really bizarre, screwed up world, and yet a world that I think reflects human nature, because we all know that if something like this did exist, there would be, perverts and nerds who would go into this world and fulfill their genetic desires, raping, killing, having sex with other women, and just doing whatever the heck they wanted, often to a horrific extent. I mean, it seems almost impossible to some of you guys. Some of you might be like, oh, I would never do that. But when you just look at history, I mean, even you would think that rape is something of the distant past, like, that happened 1,000 years ago. No. In fact, there were many wars that happened within the last 100 years where tens of thousands of women were raped. There was the Russian War, World War II, World War I, Vietnam War. Thousands of people were raped simply because they conquered the land and they raped. So, I mean, for me, it's just very horrific. When I watched this with a bunch of people, everyone was kind of just laughing about this whole thing. I just find it like really traumatizing and a bit disturbing, like the whole idea that something like this could exist. It's kind of like an Animal Farm vibe, where it's kind of like telling you shouldn't. But that's basically what I wanted to talk about. And I really think that Westworld is going to be a huge hit. Anthony Hopkins delivers a stellar performance. And of course, they're pretty much stretching this out, playing on the whole maze thing. There's part of it where it's just like they're just adding stuff to add stuff to keep the plot going. But at the same time, it really is getting interesting. And, part of me is just like, the only thing I don't like about it is some parts are just a bit too unrealistic, and it just reveals the acting. Like, it's definitely not Anthony Hopkins, but some of the other characters, that director guy, whoever he is, who's just like always thinks he's a hot shot and like trying to like, you know, direct his own way. I don't know who the heck he is. He's the white guy who had his whole storylines turned down by Ford. That guy's just like, I don't know what the heck his problem is, but I don't know. It is what it is. But the point is, this is a very interesting story because with the advent of virtual reality and Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk professing the dangers of AI, it's incredibly interesting because it's becoming more and more relevant. Having said that, you know, that's still, at the end of the day, even Bill Gates has said that this is still a far off into the future danger, though still a danger of it just becoming exponentially smarter than us because it's of its ability to just learn and learn and learn, and then pass on that knowledge to its descendants instantly, whereas humans have to kind of start from scratch with their children. Having said that, I do think the big thing with this whole artificial intelligence and Westworld, that the only really big thing I don't like is just the whole fact that, like it or not, it's more or less kind of just, for lack of a better word, it's unrealistic from a biological standpoint. The idea that you can 3D print humans' muscles and eye sockets and teeth and all that other stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I mean, just the way that they depict it, like it literally looks like plaster, like white plaster, and then somehow they pump in like this goo, and all of a sudden you have flesh. It's just like ridiculous. Like, why are people still old in this if you can't die and there's immortality, and you could just pump this stuff into someone and all of a sudden they come to life, and yet there's still, you know, wiring and robotics, and you can like insert programming code to program all these people. I think it's just really unrealistic, and I think the problem with people looking at Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk is that they're all tech programmers. They don't really understand the biology and the complexities of a living organism, and how there's all these ridiculously complicated billions of cells all working together, from proteins to macronutrients to all these different organisms. And it's not something to think that like you can just program this in. It's definitely a biased programmer mentality where you know, these programmers thinks that, you know, code will rule the world, when that's not true. Like, there's certain things that technology can do, but there's also a lot of things that it can't in terms of biology and genetics that they just don't understand, coming from that tech perspective, and thinking that they're just like so much better than all the other niches. So I think it does bleed into this as well, and I think it's a general public sentiment that, oh, you can just program in this stuff. It's a very complicated nature, the human brain, with all the wiring and neurons going on there. But nonetheless, I was able to get past it and just get past these like minor, I wouldn't call them minor, they still bothered me a bit, but I just, I knew it was a story for entertainment, so I let myself be entertained despite the fallacies in this. I don't know, I can't help but be like a bit skeptical. I guess that's why Cinema Sins is such a popular YouTube channel. Having said that, great plot, and there's so many possibilities that they can take this, and really interested and excited on where it goes. Again, it's actually moving fairly quickly. Some of it is fairly predictable. The whole idea that one of the robots would find out about this and get out of this world, but still very interesting. Again, another huge thing. Again, spoiler alert, but the whole idea that you can just program in all these personality traits. I think it's the world's a bit more complicated than that. I think the whole idea that, oh, there's just one lever for the host in terms of the intelligence trait, where it's just like a 1 to 10 scale, it's kind of, again, representative of how the general public, some of the story editors, or maybe just people in general, most of them have a very simplistic view and incorrect view of how humans kind of work, because there's definitely a lot of forms of intelligence, and not just intelligence in general. There's social intelligence, emotional intelligence, verbal intelligence, there's a lot, academic intelligence, practical intelligence, etc. So nonetheless, putting that all aside, I mean, the whole thing is still incredible. I mean, the music score, some of the cliffhangers, Anthony Hopkins just does a great job. The whole plot and backstory of Arnold, incredible job. Like some of the scenes, the Ford and Man in Black scene, incredible. I think it has a lot of potential, and it's a very interesting balance of nudity, graphics, horror, and everything else. I think it's really well done in that aspect, because I'm not a horror guy, and there's a sense of tension, but it's not too much yet. That would turn me off if it was. And the rest of it, like, there's nudity and other stuff that's quite graphic, but at the same time, reminiscent of Game of Thrones, but also reminiscent of human nature. I think that's what it gets at. It's not hiding or pushing aside or embellishing too much what human nature is, and I think that realism hits home in a way. It gets you thinking. Some of it's a bit too much, this whole idea that, oh yeah, we live this futuristic society has solved all problems, and yet some of this stuff, it's like you still have these like tablets, really. Those fallacies I really think have to be ironed out, because the details are what matters. But as far as some of the stuff, specifically some of these actors, Dolores, Anthony Hopkins, Ford, some of these actors are just on point, period. Especially, I have to give it up for the madam who runs the whorehouse. I forgot her name, but she runs the whorehouse. She's the one who really found out about this whole thing, paranoia, and found out about the whole world despite being a host. Incredible. I'm really interested to see where this goes. Thanks for watching.